You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
We are the Madmen of Masculinity.
Your home for healthy masculinity. We're just real men having real conversations for you.
Pew, pew, pew.
Let me introduce myself real quick. My name is Kirk M. Samuels.
Let me clear my throat. I am Jason B. Kendrick.
Let me clear my throat. And we are the Madmen of Masculinity, baby.
That's right. We're just real men having real conversations for you, whether you
That's
like
right.
it or not.
I had to put my pen down because you know what happens when I keep a pen nearby.
There'll be
I
these
get
strange
fidgety.
noises in the background.
I get fidgety. But I'm weird like that. I can never put down a pen with the thing out. I always got to put it down with the, I don't know. I got some little
You got some
quirks like that, man.
OCD
Don't judge
quirks?
me.
Yeah.
Don't judge me, man. Don't judge me.
Ain't no judging.
Don't judge me at all. I got the freedom to do that.
That's right. Because we're all about that freedom.
Freedom, I think, is my favorite word, man. It's been my favorite word for probably the past 8 or 9 years, man. And it's I realize that, if you don't have freedom, you don't have much. And a lot of things that we chase in our culture, in our society, keep us from having freedom. We want stuff, we want, all the things and the dues and all that kind of stuff. And all that kind of stuff, man, it locks us down, man. It keeps us from being free.
Yeah, to quote one of my favorite movies, the things you own you. And a lot of things, I mean, you talk about in our culture today, it's all about chasing the shiny things, the shiny objects, the new cars, the extra 10K or whatever, 10X in your business and your relationships and everything else. But does that set you free, or does that add another obligation to you? And one of the things, especially as we doing the show and as men doing our work, we realize, we want to help other men level up and set themselves free from their addictions and from the things dragging them down, maybe the obligations that they didn't want in the first place. But that takes responsibility. You have to take responsibility for the fact that these things exist. Like you have to say, oh, well, guess what? Maybe I have some addictions, or maybe I have some issues. And if I want to be free of these things, what are my responsibilities and how do I take that forward?
Freedom is one of them things that is real big in America, especially, it's we want to be the land of the free and the home of the brave. But when you free, man, freedom ain't free. Freedom always costs somebody something. The reason why we are, at least to the level that we are, free today in our culture and our society is because of the sacrifices, because of what somebody else paid before us. And so with that freedom comes a individual and a collective sense of responsibility, man. We want to enjoy these freedoms, but then you got people who won't get out and vote. We want to enjoy these freedoms, but then it's almost like we can be too free with too many options. And then we end up, blowing it on stuff and being trapped and being, we're the land of the free, but we're the most incarcerated, society on earth. 1 out of every 4 Americans is in prison, incarcerated somewhere. And so, we can have all these freedoms, man, but if we don't temper that with some level of responsibility with the freedom that we got, then the freedom that we got is going to end up, having us be locked down or slave to something.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, especially in our country, we think we're free, but we're not honest with ourselves about what we're enslaved to. I mean, most of us, if we're honest with ourselves, we know we're wage slaves. We know we need to, if we wanted to be completely free financially, we need to have our own businesses, multiple streams of income, and not working for some company or something, making somebody else money. But also, we're enslaved to the conscious mindset of materialism and, keeping up with the Joneses and all these different things. And we talk about need responsibility for freedom. It takes a lot of responsibility and courage to look at yourself and realize, oh, what am I enslaved to that I didn't even know I was enslaved to? And is this something I want? I mean, the whole midlife crisis thing came from people doing what they were supposed to do and checking off all those boxes on that list that their parents told them or society told them, whatever. Then they got to middle age going, all right, I did all the things. Why am I miserable? Well, you're miserable because you're not doing what you want to do. And now it's time to figure out, okay, what do I want to do? What's in my heart? What's in my soul? And how can I take responsibility for that freedom and release myself from all these other things that enslave me?
I think of the freedom, some of the freedoms that we have in our Constitution I think of Second Amendment, for example, right to bear arms. However you feel about that whole thing, um, in at least where we live anyway, you can have a concealed carry permit, and that concealed carry permit allows you to carry a firearm, a personal firearm, well, a weapon, but most commonly a personal firearm. Where it's let's say underneath your shirt or in your waistband or something like that, the ankle, whatever, someplace it can't be seen. Well, you can have that freedom to do that. But in my opinion, that's like one of the ultimate freedom and responsibility paradigms that we have in our culture. I mean, because man, you can carry, and when me personally, exercising that right and being able to carry concealed, man, there's like an extra higher level of if I go to a restaurant, I order, I make sure it's clear to the server that I'm ordering water. I mean, I'm not drinking anything, a glass of wine, a glass of beer, nothing like that. I'm water. I don't even want soda. I just want water. Um, that's one example. Again, freedom of speech. You got to be careful because we can in theory you're free to say everything you want or what you want, but at the same time, as they say commonly, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater kind of thing. You got to be responsible with your words. And so in our culture we have a lot of these freedoms built into our society, but in every case, that freedom comes with some kind of inherent responsibility. And I don't know that we're real good at that in our culture in terms of recognizing that I might be free to experience something or free in something or through something, but that don't mean that I'm just, that I can just be free balling out here and just be acting buck wild. Don't work like that.
Yeah, I think the last few generations, I mean, even our generation began it probably as we started getting away from the responsibility thing, like the baby boomer generation, the greatest generation, all the people who were part of like the World War II generation, even the Depression era generation before that, they knew all about responsibility. They knew what it took because they were in survival mode. They were only maybe one generation, you know, from farming land and having to farm or hunt or gather to survive. So they knew all about responsibility. Now, the freedoms we have today with all the technology and all the automated things, those are great freedoms. But I think it's taken us away from the responsibility. And we see it so much now in marriages and dating and just life in general. There's so many people out there that try to call them on something to see what happens. Try to hold them responsible or even capable of something, even though they have the freedom to do those things. They tend to take that for granted without taking on the added responsibility. You're free to have a child, but you're also responsible for raising that child to be a good human being in the future. You're free to start a business or you're free to drive a car. Like you said, you're free to carry a weapon, but now you're responsible for all the things that entails. And that doesn't just entail you and your life. That, I mean, in your case, if you're at a restaurant and something goes down in a way, because you're concealed carry, now it's part of your responsibility to protect the other people. Like you're now kind of inadvertently law enforcement because that's part of the responsibility of being a concealed carry person, being there to protect yourself and others. So are you willing to take on the responsibility of the freedoms that you have?
And if I hypothetically pull the trigger on my weapon, I better be real, real clear about responsibility the moment after that. Because wherever that round goes, I'm responsible for whatever happens to that. If it goes through a bad guy into a good guy, I'm responsible for that. I mean,
Both.
if it ricochets, whatever, I'm responsible for that. I mean, when the cops come, they say when the cops come, you going away in handcuffs. I mean, you know, I mean, unless it's in this case anyway, unless it's make my day in your own home kind of thing. But for the most part, man, there's gonna be some cops showing up, and you're gonna have to defend your actions. And so there's some responsibility that comes with that. If you might have the freedom because you're 21 and older to go drink, but if you get in your car and you start driving, you are now responsible for everything that happens from that point on, by the time you leave wherever to get to wherever. If you happen to run a red light or if somebody else, does something. I mean, man, they don't want to check your blood alcohol as well. And so, you're free for that. You're free to go do that, but there's some responsibility that comes along with that. A lot of times, man, in our culture, we don't like the responsibility aspect. We want all kinds of freedom, but no responsibility. We don't want to be responsible or accountable to nothing.
Yeah, I mean, we see so much of that in so many different areas. I mean, I'm not going to jump on the younger generation too much, but we see it a lot more the younger the generations go with this. I'm special and I don't have to do anything to get it. But we didn't want to do this episode jumping all over all these different things, or different generations. This is really about, we were having a discussion. We had Johnny King on our podcast on the radio show, and then we were on his, and this came up because we want to help men be free from your addictions, be free to live the best life that you can live. But are you willing to embrace the suck, to take on that responsibility? And for a lot of us, I know for me, it's just finally coming, like the light bulbs going on, the things are coming up. Like I've been waiting all my life for somebody to say, okay, Tag, you're it. Or, put me in, coach, kind of thing. But it's time for all of us to go, all right, nobody's coming to save us. Now we can lock arms, we can be in brotherhood, we can support each other. It's time for us to take on that responsibility to be free, to live the best lives we can live, and be the best men we can be that best version of ourselves we can be. But we have to take on that responsibility. We have to embrace the suck of changing and dying from that past ego death, that past life we were living, or whatever those things were that were holding us down, and releasing that and being reborn into this new version of who we are, and accepting that responsibility of, this is the direction I'm going. I'm letting that stuff go. And it may be ugly, it may be hard, but that's part of the path to my freedom of being the best version of myself I could be.
From a guy perspective, man, I'm speaking to guys, man, you are free to, when I say free, I'm not validating or justifying whether something is okay. I mean, when I say you're free to, I'm talking about, something may be within the bounds of law or whatever. Like you have the ability to. You have the ability to, as a guy, you got the ability to go, stick something in a woman, and man, guess what? That last pump will get you. that last, getting me in one more, that'll get you 18, man. At least 18. And man, you better be ready to be responsible for some stuff after that, man. That last, I get one more in, and yeah, I'm telling
That's
you,
what you
man.
think.
There's some there's some responsibility to go with that. If you married and you want to go out, boning some chicks or whatever, there's gonna be some responsibility with that, man. If you want to go do your thing, all of a sudden, most of the time it's not guys, by far it's women who say, ladies, you're free to say, I don't want to be with I'm not happy anymore. I don't want to be with this man anymore, and I'm just gonna go file for divorce. Well, guess what? Your life is probably not going to look the same way it did, while you were married, right? Don't come back and then complain about being a single mom when, you married a jerk and or decided to divorce a jerk, and so with that freedom to do that, you are more within your ability to go do those kinds of things. But guess what? I mean, there's some other things that come along with that, and you can't, even back to that same example. I mean, you can say, I'm gonna go leave this guy thinking that, well, your girlfriend's got you all gassed up and, yeah, girl, you deserve better. You deserve better. Well, what your idea of better is probably not realistic in terms of what the dating field, what the market says is better. Your idea of better is what you were 10, 15, 20 years ago. The market says otherwise. And so I say that to say you are now responsible for the fact that you're out here in a marketplace, a dating marketplace that that is not what you think it is. And you're going to probably find yourself real soon regretting, to some degree, whether it's quietly or loudly, regretting the fact that, man, I don't know if it was better, before or not. But man, when you're free to do all these things in terms of, you have the ability to, but guess what, man, those things, oh boy, I mean, what comes after that, what comes right after that decision is something that may not be fun.
Yeah, what we all need, men and women both, is some depth of vision. We need to stop, take a breath, count to 10, and start looking past the decision. what is this decision going to do? What is this decision going to entail? What am I going to be responsible for? Because yeah, our whole society right now is like there's no repercussions and nothing. YOLO. You only live once. Do whatever you want to do. Have the drink, eat the cake, do all that stuff. But your biggest responsibility is for the person in the mirror. So if you're not being honest with yourself and then going out here in the world and putting it on everybody else, that's your responsibility. You're responsible for who you see in the mirror, whether you like it or not. If you don't like it, you're also responsible to change that person to somebody you do like, to do the work, do the therapy, get the personal trainer, change your diet, go to rehab, whatever it is. Do all the things to help you love yourself more, because the freedom you have in this country comes with responsibility. And what we see so much is that we're taking advantage of all the freedoms. We say, "Oh, I'll take some of this and I'll take some of that. Oh, I don't want that. That's too responsible, or that's icky. I don't want to. I want to take all the good stuff and leave the responsibility over there." But that's when you end up getting in your older years going, "Why can't I find somebody? Why am I broke? Why am I having to live on my friend's couch or go stay in my kid's backyard and in the mother-in-law apartment because I don't have retirement or whatever?" These are all things that are up to you. You have the freedom to do all these things, but it's up to you to take responsibility to do them. It's not about the world doing it for you. And for many of us, especially the way the world is going now and the way a lot of people are growing up, it's all about victim mindset. It's their fault, it's society's fault, it's the government's fault, it's my parents' fault. But when you're an adult, you get out of the house, it's on you. So no matter how you think or what you're trying to blame everybody else for, that onus comes back to you. So you're free to do whatever you want, but you have to pay the price in responsibility and effort and action to get what you want.
Hey, we are the Madmen of Masculinity. We are normally
Yes,
on KLDC 1220 AM in Denver, Colorado, the Mile High City, home of the NBA champ Nuggets and the MLB champ Rockies. But we ain't talking about them. But yeah, so we normally come back. We record our hour-long our over-the-air radio show on Mondays, and then we come back here later on in the week and just do like a quick, short topic. Something that we've been doing for copious amounts of years at this point.
It's all on YouTube for all of y'all.
It's all back there. Check it out. Holla at us. Facebook, YouTube, all that kind of stuff, man. Just holla. Let us know what you agree with, what you don't agree with, man. I mean, and it don't cost you nothing to hit a like or subscribe button. Stop being a chump.
Yeah, make sure you like and subscribe, hit that little bell icon so you know when we're posting. Because we're posting twice a week. So and then at the end of the month, usually or later on, we post it to Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all the places you get podcasts. So you can be listening to our sexy radio voices all month long.
Sure. You're
free to anyway.
What comes to mind is there's a couple who were very high profile people that do this kind of stuff in their so-called manosphere that got demonetized. They got shut down on YouTube recently, and now they're completely out of business in terms of all the money they were making on YouTube. And man, they had a whole setup and they've been doing it for years. They've been pretty well known, and they were shut down because man, in my opinion, keeping that entertainment factor high, their platform was kind of built on a little bit of ratchetness, having a bunch of half drunk women in their apartment studio and just yelling and putting them down and all that kind of stuff. And then I think they went after some other people. Point is, they were free to go set up whatever platform they wanted, but then they were responsible for what happens after that platform. I'm getting kind of a spirit of David Goggins boiling up in me. David Goggins is all about responsibility, man. He's all about, former Navy SEAL. If you haven't heard of David Goggins, Google GTS.
Look him up.
But his whole thing, I mean, he's like all about responsibility. Hey, if you fat, it's your fault. You fat, I mean, do something about it. If you're lazy, if you're a loser, do something about it, and he's very harsh and very real, very, not even kind of very direct with his message. But either way, the whole point is like, hey, he was a loser. He was fat, dumb, and lazy, killing roaches and all that kind of stuff. And he had to learn how to take personal responsibility for his life and turn his life around to become what he wanted to instead of being a victim to who he was.
Yeah, I mean, when you listen to his book or read his book, You Can't Hurt Me. I mean, I think he is the tip of the spear when it comes to embracing the suck. I think he's a little bit of addicted to the suck now because of his ultra marathons and everything else. We don't have to go that far, but we can take from what he's talking about the responsibility and realize if he can do it, we can do it too. If anybody can do it, we can do it. It's just a matter of are you willing to embrace the suck and take responsibility for your outcome. Now, if you're not happy with your outcome, I mean, results often harsh, always fair. Look at your results. If you don't like the results you're getting, then you need to change what you're doing. You get back what you put out. So if you're putting out hate and trolling and negativity, that's all you're getting back. So it's time to change your mindset, change your what you're doing, your belief systems, put out some positivity, put out something that's beneficial to the world, help other people out, and then you'll start getting back some of that love and appreciation that you probably have been craving, but you've been, doing the wrong things, acting negatively, trolling other people, trying to put other people down, trying to crab people in the bucket. That doesn't do anything but keep us all down. And especially as men, we need to be that tide that raises all the ships. So it's time for us to get positive, get around other guys. If your group of guys look around, you're the average of your 5 best friends. And if your 5 best friends are sucking, it's time to get new best friends. Time to raise your game, take responsibility for yourself, and then take responsibility for those around you as well.
And we as men, especially speaking to men, you're right, man. We got to be culturally the tip of the spear and take a responsibility. We got to own our stuff, man. I was a terrible, terrible, terrible husband in the past, twice. I mean, I was in 2 weddings, but I was never married. I sucked, not in a good way. And it just was not cool. And quite honestly, hindsight over the course of my 26, 27 years of fathering, I have not been a great father, for large chunks of that, and ended up paying the price now in relationship, in some of those areas and some of those aspects. And so we got to take ownership of all that kind of stuff. And yeah, you can't go back and you can't undo the past, but that's not an excuse to take ownership of it and say, yep, that was me and I did it and I sucked that way. But now at the same time, now that I've done some work, I can be a somewhat of a phoenix that rise from the ashes, but and salvage what I can from what I have left. And so as men, man, we got to take ownership of that. Yeah, most of our fathers weren't active in our life. Okay. I mean, most of whatever. I mean, we made a whole lot of bad choices. Is what it is. We got screwed, in this kind of way and that kind of way. So what? But we did this and we did that, and we as men are the answer to this culture, this society, and it won't turn around until men step up and men take the lead with some sense of strong, for lack of a better word, morals and convictions and direction, all the things that healthy masculinity provides in this culture. That's what we need, and us as men, we're the answer to the problem.
Yeah, I mean, responsibility leads to freedom. If you want to be free, take responsibility because, especially like Kirk's point, you're gonna be held responsible as men no matter what. Whether you're good at the responsibility or you're good at being held accountable or not. Society is gonna hold you accountable. You are on the hook. So you might as well embrace the suck and make sure you're being responsible for things that you want. Because if you're not out there fighting for the things you want, you're gonna be fighting for things you don't want. We're all in a fight, we're all in a battle, we're all out there being responsible for things. So you get the choice. You have the freedom to choose what you get to be responsible for, and if that's beneficial or if it's negative, if that's good for you or it's bad for you. I mean, if you're 6-pack a day, 6-pack a night drinker and a pack a day smoker, you have the freedom to do that, but you're also responsible for the outcome. I mean, you get emphysema or fatty liver, that's your prize and in the wrapper right there. You're responsible for that. It's nobody else's fault but yours. So it's up to us guys and being around other guys that are on the mission, who have their poop in a group, who are looking higher and they have goals. You want to be around those guys. The rest of them are just crabs in a bucket. And some of us, we have the freedom to be around who we want to. It's time for us to take responsibility and let go of some of the dead weight and just, unapologetically be like, look, I love you, dude. I'm out. You just aren't going in the direction I want to go. I got to go over here and do what you got to do. Take that responsibility so that you can gain the freedom that you really truly deserve.
Yeah. I'm honored that my son just graduated from his most recent school in the Navy today, as a matter of fact.
Mm-hmm.
Now not only is he a hospital corpsman, but he passed his aerospace medical tech, and so now he's in the aviation world and that. And one of the things that he was talking about here recently, right at the end of school, some of his classmates went out and just basically got stupid. Did some dumb stuff, underage drinking and just partying and doing stupid stuff, and got kicked out of a school. I mean, after almost completing the whole thing, man. And I did some dumb stuff too. And it's one of those things that, man, you play stupid games, you get stupid prizes. And my advice to him over and over again was like, hey man, be smart, be smart, do the things you got to do, take responsibility for your schooling, for everything that's required of you, and go out and serve his country, make it the best Navy ever kind of thing. And like I said, his whole thing this whole time has been, yeah, I'm on my stuff. I'm working hard, and I'm taking responsibility for where I am. And so there's prime example of us as men. It's time for us to guard the section of the wall that we've been assigned, and to say, in my little world, I'm going to do the best that I can to be upright, to make good choices, to not only have freedom, experience the freedom, maintain my freedom, but also be responsible for the things that come with the freedom that we have. And so, yeah, that's something that I think all men can learn from these days.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. That's something I think we, as the older generation now, we were lucky. Social media wasn't around when we were young and dumb and doing our dumb things, so we got away with a lot of it. But it's up to us now to pass that on to the younger generation. Be like, look, I was your age, I did the dumb things, but now you're not getting away with it. If somebody's going to post something, it's going to be on social media. It's up to you. So we got to pass down all the dumb things. We got to be vulnerable and be like, look, I'm not perfect. I did all the dumb things you're trying to do, but nobody could see it all over social media. Nobody's going to post anything like that. So we've got to, help the next generation and let them know, like, you need to have long-term vision in the moment. This is not about, oh, well, I'll have long-term vision every January when I do my yearly plan and I set up my quarterly goals. No, in the moment, you got to say, is this a decision I want to make? Is this going to affect me in 5 years? Will this 5 minutes affect me in 5 years? If it will, it's probably a no. Because most of the time, those little 5-minute decisions, those little impromptu decisions aren't going to help you out in the long run. So being the older generation, knowing what we've gone through, knowing the dumb mistakes we've made, it's up to us to show the younger generation. If you don't have kids, mentor or get around, do something with, teenage boys and let them know, like, hey, I'm just here to help you not make the same mistakes I made and to better yourself so that we can better the future. Because, I mean, as men, that's our legacy. We want to better the future. We want to have better families, better communities, better nations, better world. And that all starts with where we are, our responsibility, our freedom to pass on to the next generation.
Yeah. This is good stuff, man. And again, I think all of this is good stuff for men to think about, for men to chew on, and and for men to kind of step into, in terms of, this is the reality. Like I said, all these problems, man, we got problems. We about to go right into this political cycle, man, where people are gonna be running for office for the next year and a half. And man, it's just going, social media is about to just get stupid with, this opinion and that opinion, people arguing and all this other kind of
stuff. And
that's
different
man.
how.
It's just up to all these problems that we have in our culture, man, from, man, gun violence to just division and all these other kind of things. Men are the solution to all of these problems, man. Broken families, fatherless kids and all that kind of stuff. And I know, a whole lot of, there's probably less deadbeat dads and more disgruntled moms these days. But man, we got to do the best that we can do where we are from this going forward, man. In my sphere of influence, am I doing the best I can do to take responsibility for my life, my choices, to take responsibility for the things I've had freedom on? So yeah, I think this is a great thing for men to really chew on, man.
Yeah, it's time for us men to, in our own way, show our vulnerabilities, show our traumas, so that we can help the next generation. We can F our feelings and do what's hard and have those hard conversations, so that we can help the next generation and the gentlemen next to us, the men next to us that we're arm in arm with, to do better and to be better. Because if we're not helping them, we're not helping ourselves. We're definitely not helping the future. So it's up to us to embrace the freedoms that we have, take responsibility for those freedoms, and then to do something with it. I think the biggest issue we see nowadays, and if you want to be honest with yourselves, look around. People are embracing all the freedoms, taking none of the responsibility. It's time to shift that. We're all adults here. It is time to be better.
Hey, like, subscribe, comment. Let us know what you think. Seriously, I mean, if you could put in a comment wherever you're watching this, and man, we'll be happy to. We love to hear your opinion. You know, again, whether you agree or disagree with something we got, man, we'd love to hear your opinion, and we will surely reply probably sooner than you think.
We're not that busy yet, so
no. Let us know what you think, and hit us up, check us out, and again, stop dating and getting this relationship with us. Like, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. And so, Mad Men and Masculinity, and with that, we are Mad Men out.